Hong Kong, 1972. The air inside the training hall was thick with heat and stillness. Outside, the city hummed with motion, but inside, time seemed to slow. Bruce Lee stood in the center of the room, barefoot, arms loose at his sides. His body was still, but his presence filled every corner of the space. He wasn't performing. He wasn't posturing. He was simply there, completely present, like water waiting to take shape. Across from him, a different kind of energy filled the room. A soldier stood near the entrance, shoulders squared, chest forward, jaw set. He had come with a reputation. Trained in traditional combat systems. Conditioned to believe that strength came from structure, that power was built on rigidity, that real fighting was about endurance and force. He had heard the stories about Bruce Lee, the man who moved like lightning, who spoke in riddles about philosophy and flow. But stories, he thought, were just stories. And philosophies were just words. The soldier had not come to learn. He had come to prove something. To himself. To the others watching. To the idea that discipline, real discipline, came from repeating what had already been proven. He believed in tradition. He believed in hierarchy. He believed that a man who talked about water and formlessness was a man who had never faced a real fight. And so he stood there, waiting, with the quiet arrogance of someone who thinks certainty is the same thing as strength. Bruce did not move. He did not speak. He simply observed. His eyes were calm, but they saw everything. The tension in the soldier's shoulders. The weight planted too heavily on his back leg. The overcommitment to balance that was meant to project power but instead betrayed hesitation. Bruce had seen this before. This posture. This energy. This belief that control meant clenching, that strength meant hardness, that to be unbreakable meant to refuse to bend. The soldier finally spoke. His voice carried across the room, loud enough to be heard, sharp enough to cut. He said he didn't come to watch demonstrations. He said he came to fight a real man. Not a dancer. Not a movie star. A real fighter. Someone who understood what it meant to trade blows, to absorb damage, to stand firm when tested. He said it with confidence, the kind that comes not from knowing the truth, but from never having questioned what was taught. Bruce Lee's expression did not change. He did not smile. He did not frown. He did not rush to defend himself or correct the soldier's assumptions. He simply nodded, once, slowly, as if acknowledging not the challenge, but the belief system behind it. Because Bruce understood something the soldier did not. This was not about proving who was stronger. This was about revealing what strength actually meant. The air shifted. The others in the room felt it, even if they could not name it. The soldier stepped forward, his stance firm, his guard raised. He was ready. Ready for an exchange. Ready for a test of wills. Ready to show that discipline, real discipline, was forged in repetition and tradition, not reimagined through abstract concepts. He expected resistance. He expected force meeting force. He expected a collision. Bruce Lee moved. Not with hesitation. Not with explosion. But with the kind of inevitability that makes you realize the outcome was already decided before the first step was taken. His body flowed forward, weightless, without tension, without announcement. There was no wind-up. No preparation. No signal that something was about to happen. It simply happened. 7 seconds. That was all it took. Not 7 seconds of struggle. Not 7 seconds of back and forth. 7 seconds of surgical precision, of movement so efficient it seemed to defy the very idea of effort. Bruce closed the distance before the soldier could process it. His hand moved, not in a wild strike, but in a controlled interception, redirecting the soldier's guard as if it were never there. Then came the strike. Clean. Direct. Placed with the kind of accuracy that does not come from trying harder, but from understanding exactly where and when to apply force. The soldier's body jerked backward. Not from overwhelming power, but from the shock of realizing his defense had been bypassed entirely. His balance, the foundation he had built his confidence on, collapsed. He stumbled, tried to reset, but Bruce was already there, not chasing, not pursuing, simply occupying the space the soldier had left open. Another touch. Another redirection. The soldier's arms flailed, searching for structure, for something solid to anchor to, but there was nothing. Bruce moved like water filling a container, adapting to every shape, every opening, every mistake. And then it stopped. Bruce stepped back. He did not follow up. He did not press the advantage. He did not humiliate. He simply returned to stillness, his breathing calm, his posture unchanged, as if nothing had happened at all. But everything had happened. The soldier stood there, chest heaving, eyes wide, trying to reconcile what his body had just experienced with what his mind had been taught to believe. He had been dismantled. Not through brute force. Not through endurance. But through the absence of resistance. Through the presence of flow. Silence filled the room. Not the silence of awkwardness, but the silence of realization. The kind that arrives when a deeply held belief is shattered, not through argument, but through undeniable demonstration. The soldier lowered his hands. Slowly. His shoulders dropped. The rigidity that had defined his posture moments before was gone, replaced by something else. Confusion. Respect. Humility. Bruce Lee finally spoke. His voice was not loud. It did not need to be. He said that rigidity is not strength. That structure without adaptability is not discipline. That real power does not come from resisting change, but from becoming it. He explained that the soldier had fought not against Bruce, but against his own belief that there was only one way to fight, one way to move, one way to win. And in clinging to that belief, he had made himself predictable. Breakable. Limited. He said that water does not fight the rock. It flows around it, over it, through it. And over time, the rock is shaped by the water, not the other way around. He said that true mastery is not about perfecting a single form, but about becoming formless. Not about memorizing responses, but about responding without thought. Not about building walls, but about removing the obstacles within yourself that prevent you from adapting. The soldier listened. Not with the defensiveness of someone protecting an identity, but with the openness of someone who had just seen the limits of their own understanding. He had come to prove something. Instead, he had been given something. Not a lesson in humility, but a glimpse of what lies beyond the certainty he had mistaken for truth. Bruce turned away, walking slowly toward the far side of the room. He did not wait for acknowledgement. He did not ask if the soldier understood. Because understanding, real understanding, is not something that can be given. It can only be discovered. And discovery requires the willingness to let go of what you thought you knew. The soldier stood there for a long moment, staring at his own hands, at the space where the fight had been, at the stillness that now surrounded him. He had been taught that a real man stands firm. That a real fighter never bends. But in 7 seconds, he had learned that the strongest force in the world is the one that refuses to be contained by definition. The one that adapts. The one that flows. He left the training hall different than when he entered. Not defeated. Not broken. But changed. The arrogance was gone. The certainty had cracked. And in its place, something new began to form. A question. A curiosity. A willingness to see beyond what tradition had told him was possible. Bruce Lee returned to his students, his expression unchanged, his energy calm. He did not celebrate. He did not lecture. He simply continued, as he always did, refining, adapting, becoming. Because for him, this was not about proving anything to anyone. It was about living a truth that most people only talk about. The truth that mastery is not a destination. It is a process. A way of being. A constant shedding of what no longer serves, a constant opening to what might come next. The story spread. Not because Bruce told it, but because those who witnessed it could not forget. 7 seconds. That was all it took to dismantle not just a man, but an entire way of thinking. To show that real strength is not about how hard you can hit, but about how completely you can adapt. That real discipline is not about repeating what you were taught, but about questioning it, testing it, and transcending it. And for those who understood, the lesson was not about Bruce Lee. It was about the illusion we all carry. The belief that certainty equals strength. That tradition equals truth. That to be unbreakable means to refuse to change. But the world does not reward rigidity. It rewards flow. It rewards adaptability. It rewards those who understand that the most powerful position is not the one that cannot be moved, but the one that moves before the force even arrives. The soldier never forgot that day. Years later, he would tell others what happened, not with shame, but with gratitude. Because in 7 seconds, he was freed from a prison he did not know he was in. A prison built from assumptions, from inherited beliefs, from the idea that there was only one way to be strong. And in losing that fight, he won something far more valuable. The freedom to begin again. The courage to question. The humility to evolve. Bruce Lee once said that you must be shapeless, formless, like water. And most people hear that as poetry. But for those who stood across from him, who felt the reality of that philosophy in motion, it was not poetry. It was physics. It was truth. It was the difference between trying to be something and simply becoming. 7 seconds to shatter a belief. A lifetime to rebuild on what remains.